All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Rich Swerbinski with the Mortgage Collaborative. I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon to go over what I'm going to do is basically use the next 20 or 30 minutes to just go over the results of a pretty comprehensive survey we just conducted of our lender members back in May. This is something that we do biannually. Obviously, the nature of our organization, very important to keep our finger squarely on the pulse of what is most important to our members. And this survey obviously goes a long way in achieving that goal. And I thought that, this survey in particular was going to be a very interesting exercise for a couple of reasons. One, we've added a bunch of new members over the course of the last year. And two, just this last year, everything that has changed with the world and the mortgage industry. And was very interested to get the feedback here. And we got a lot of it, which was great. So as always, any questions, comments anybody has, please feel free to just drop them in the chat or the Q&A as we go along, and I'm happy to address it. But I'm basically just going to walk you through the top, I think 10 or 11 issues that stood out from the rest, maybe a more light overview of issues 12 through 20, and try to provide some context as to what we're hearing from the members, either through the course of the survey or just our daily interactions with them on each of these issues. So what you see here on the screen is just some background on us and the survey. 228 members are actually up to 234 right now. 58% are independent mortgage banking companies. 42% are depositories. And what we did is we kind of hand selected about 600 key leaders from our member organizations to send this survey to, and not via mass email, but kind of individualized reach outs, and implored them to complete it because of the importance of the information we were compiling. And I really do believe that the results of this survey really is almost a perfect cross-section of the mortgage lenders in America. Not only, our mix, which is representative of the broader mortgage lending industry, but our lenders. We have lenders that want to be great. You don't join an organization like the Mortgage Collaborative if you're a bank or a credit union unless you're all in on mortgage, and same on the independent mortgage banking side. So it really is a best-in-class lineup of members across the country. What we did was we took what we felt were the 40 most pressing issues in the mortgage industry, and very simply just asked our members to tell us how important each issue was to them, from like critically important all the way down to not very important. We divided those issues into 6 different categories, which you can see here: culture and inclusion, efficiency and profitability, technology and data, compliance and legal, marketing and biz dev, and miscellaneous. And then what I'm about to go through is the collective weighted ranking of how the issues came back from viewed as most collectively important to least. Just some information on the respondent pool: 53.7% of respondents were from IMBs. And you could see the breakdown, kind of a mix of above and below $1 billion in annual originations. 46% were from depository institutions, and again, a good mix of organizations that originate above and below $1 billion a year. And then you see the individual role breakdown: 52% either the CEO or, for a depository, the head of the mortgage division; 21% either the COO or the director of ops, and so on and so forth. So getting into the results, the first issue that ranked the highest was retention of existing staff. And as I kind of note in the comments here, we expected this to rank high, but did not expect it to rank number one. And what happened here was our lenders staffed up, and sometimes at great cost over the course of the last year, to deal with all the volume that was coming in the door. And many, if not most, of those employees are remote, some not in the geographic former footprint of a lender. So not only do lenders have bigger staffs, a year like last year made it easier for lenders to identify who their top people were, either just through production or like business intelligence technology, and harder to make them feel the love of your company when everybody's not under the same roof. So I think all those things together, probably combined with the fact that the biggest mortgage lenders in America are very actively right now trying to get larger, and lenders' beliefs that, just like, if you're a bank or an IMB in Ohio that has always just hired people in Ohio, now after what happened last year, you can hire somebody in Tennessee or Nevada or California. On the flip side, your people that are in Ohio can be hired by mortgage lenders all across America. So retention of existing staff was the number one overall issue. Coming in at number two was enhancing customer experience at the point of sale. The term POS 10 years ago didn't mean anything really to anybody in the mortgage industry. And it has become huge, obviously, just because of, customers' desire to, have a seamless online mortgage application experience, or even to do it on their phone, or to be able to access information about their loan or application remotely and on their handheld devices. This is something I think it's not a new issue. It's something that a lot of the emerging technology in the mortgage industry these last 5 years has really been focused on the point of sale more than the back end and servicing and things like that. We're starting to see that come along, but creating a great borrower experience. I think in general, lenders believe if I can't have a pretty slick online and mobile experience for the 25-year-old home buyer of today, it's really going to put me in an uphill battle in terms of retention and recruiting of new employees and new customers. Number three, scaling and modernizing your loan manufacturing process to better insulate against volume fluctuations. And I make a little joke in the comments here, and this is not a joke, really. This is what lenders were saying. A couple winters ago, the sky was falling. There was no margins, very little volume. Lenders were questioning their ability to stay in existence in this industry. And then you fast forward to last summer when it was just so busy and margins were so high. So those two ends of the spectrum, that's the mortgage industry. It's very cyclical. Not only volume, but margins fluctuate up and down. I think lenders last year had to go out and hire lots of human bodies, again, at big cost. And I think collectively, all our lenders kind of wish that technology was further along in our industry than it currently is, to help alleviate some of that just adding of humans, because, as volume drops off, like it has a little bit now, you got to make tough decisions then. So as to where utilizing technology to perform tasks that don't necessarily have to be done by humans, even out some of that cyclical up and down. Number four was measuring operations employees' productivity. This ties in with a couple of the issues that we already talked about. And, I think that mortgage lenders in general, especially with so many remote, they want to very intimately understand who their most productive operations people are, so they can compensate them accordingly and retain them. And on the flip side, with bloated staffs and some lenders looking at the prospect of making some tough staffing decisions this year, on the other side, making sure you're making the right decisions if you do have to trim staff. So, and in general, I think business intelligence software in our industry is not quite as far along as I think most of our members would have hoped it would be by now. There are some good alternatives out there, but I think in general, especially even when we went through our collab labs, that was another common theme, that productivity was great when everybody first went remote last spring and last summer. But the productivity of remote employees when things are busy is better than it was previously. But when it's slow, productivity is even lower than it was when people were in the office. So just something that we've heard a lot from lenders. Number five, implementing and integrating new technology. Again, some common themes here with these top issues, evening out the highs and lows of the volume cycles. And I think lenders know, going back to point of sale and customer experience ranking really high, that they have to have great tech and a great borrower experience. And on the back end, have to have great tech that can help them operate more efficiently so they can pass that efficiency along to borrowers in the way of pricing when we get into contracted margin cycles. So not a surprise that implementing and integrating new tech came in high. It always does when we do this survey. It's been coming in the top 5 or 6 for years now. Fair lending compliance. This was not a surprise because of the change in presidential administrations and at the CFPB. But as I put in the comments there, it literally would have probably ranked 40 of 40 6 months ago. And today ranks higher than a lot of very pertinent issues that we're about to touch on. And, I think that the new CFPB and the Biden administration has made it pretty clear that making sure that there is a level playing field for all potential home buyers and no biases of any sort is something that they're going to very aggressively pursue. Our depository members have, in most cases, been dealing with fair lending audits annually, biannually for a long time now. So this is old hat to them. But our IMB members, 58% of TMC members, this is new. And a lot of them, and the smartest ones, in my opinion, are taking this issue very seriously. And as you can see by where it placed in the survey results. So that's the top 6. And then there was a little drop off just in terms of like tiering the issues. But these next 5 issues also ranked very collectively high and all really pertain to setting their companies up for the future was the theme of this next tier. Another thing that I've heard many times from, our smartest members is like something along the lines of how we as leaders and lenders invest the profits of 2020 to set our company up for 2021 and beyond is a very critical issue. All lenders made a lot of money last year. What do you spend that money on? And I think that, a lot of these next issues kind of fell into that theme. So number 7 was measuring LO profitability. And again, last year, even the worst loan originators were originating enough to, meet any lender's kind of minimum threshold requirements. But they also wore down staff. I mean, we just saw that operational staff morale, especially as we got towards the end of last year, winter, couldn't get outside, the pandemic's still going on. People had just been holed up in their homes, processing, underwriting, and closing loans. And you just heard a lot from lenders that the need to make sure that they know which loan originators are worth keeping on. That loan originator that maybe did 12 to 15 million last year, but in a more normal year did maybe 6 to 8 million in originations, but just beat the living hell out of your ops staff. Really, I think the collective opinion was a net negative, probably not worth it. So a lot of lenders that are doing some things internally to help them really understand the profitability of the true profitability of their loan originators, not just total volume originated, the type of products they're originating, the completeness of applications, how long it's taking files to get from application to clear to closing, putting together some pretty neat internal formulas to understand that dynamic better and to understand their sales staff better. Development of future leaders. Another challenge of the all remote climate last year was it was just tough to develop leaders. One, it was just so busy. Lenders were just fending off volume. 2, everything was remote. So as we, flip the calendar into 2021, things have begun to become more normal now. I think a lot of lenders right now are focused on leadership development. The higher upside, maybe younger individuals in the organization that can be the leaders of tomorrow and doing all the things necessary to further and develop their leadership skills and, helping to set the company up for the future. Number 9 was cyber attacks and protecting customer data. Everything's in the cloud now. Lenders typically aren't working off servers that they have at physical locations, but I think in general, there's some skepticism amongst lenders. The amount of non-public personal information that you as mortgage lenders have, if you were to have a data breach, it's a serious thing. It's a lot of very personal and intimate customer data. And I think in general, there's some lenders that are skeptical of the quote unquote cloud. So, things like cybersecurity insurance and making sure that they're doing things to educate their staff to fend off if it's, phishing attacks or other common attempts to breach data, something that has registered higher with lenders with, again, a lot of people remote now and volume dropping off. I think most lenders feel like they didn't spend enough time and resources on cybersecurity in general last year because of the general volume climate, but it's something they're more focused on this year. Company culture with remote staff, again, something that has been a recurring theme throughout the top items on this list, making your remote employees feel the love of your management team, implementing with new employees your company culture, maintaining it with existing. Obviously, much tougher not having people in the office now. Of course, a lot of our members are bringing employees back in the office from all varying levels of most back in to very few back in to some kind of hybrid approach. But a lot of really creative, neat things that we heard from the members last year in the labs and just in our daily interactions with them that they did to, make their at-home employees feel the love. And then the last issue in this tier was bringing young talent into the company. I think if we did this survey today, again, just 6 weeks later, it would rank even higher. I think when we do this survey again in about 4 months, it will rank even higher. I think this is something that lenders are rightfully focused on. Nobody's going to college to be a mortgage lender. So unlike a lot of other businesses where you're looking for accounting graduates or people graduating from college with certain degrees or certain skill sets, it's not how mortgage lenders get their employees. And very important to do creative and innovative things to, one, find young talent, and two, make them understand why this is a great business to get into. So this is, I think, something you'll see continue to have added importance for the members, and it has financial importance too. If it's the, in TMC benchmark, the average annual salary of an underwriter over the course of the pandemic went from like 72,000 to like 89,000. So I think a lot of our lenders are saying things like, I want to train my own processors and, over time, the best ones, train them to become underwriters and create internal training that can allow you to maybe bring somebody with no experience to process, maybe in the high 30s or low 40s, depending on what part of the country you're in, lower cost basis, and ultimately make that person a $60,000 underwriter in a year or two. And to me, that's smart. That's what I'd be doing too if I was still an active lender. So that's the top 11 issues out of 40 that after that, there was a drop off to 12. And I'm going to quickly go through 12 through 20 here before we depart. But that was the issues that ranked as the most important to the member base. Moving on to the next tier, which I kind of defined as business development, diversification, and risk prevention. They all kind of fell into this category. And CRM utilization came in number 12. And I think this is a couple things. One, there's better CRMs out there. Our preferred partner, total expert, does some amazing things that I wish I would have had when I was a lender and utilized CRMs for my salespeople. And they just do a lot more things now. So I think there's that component to it. And then there's also the, applications aren't just going to be, and aren't even now, just flowing in the door like they were before. Refinances are going to go away. You're gonna have to be much more strategic in your refinance strategy. If it's people with equity, alerting them on cash out opportunities, or marketing to potential home buyers in different ways. So CRM utilization came in at number 12. Jumbo lending came in at number 13. I joke, all the time that like death, taxes, and lenders pining for better jumbo outlets are the only three certainties in life. It's one of the number one questions, just in general. My 6.5 years with TMC, we get from our members, like looking for jumbo outlets. If it's a depository that maybe does some jumbo lending in the portfolio, but can only do so much, or an IMB that's just looking for outlets, because everybody wants to do jumbo loans, right? They're big loans. There's more money to be made on them. They're good customers to have. But, the issue really is everybody that wants a jumbo loan wants a fixed rate jumbo loan, and lending out $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, on 30 years fixed rate in the low threes. That's tough. I've worked for banks in my life. I could just tell you the people that manage asset portfolios, 30-year fixed rate assets that are $700,000, $800,000, putting them on the books. That's tough to do, with any sort of great frequency. So kind of leads to the jumbo issue. The 7% cap on non-owner occupied, and now we're hearing from some of our members and others just in the industry that they've been reached out to, that this is being lowered to 3% for some lenders, is a big issue. What we've been hearing just is, the lenders that I think in the month of June sold a level of non-owner that was at or above 7% are now being told they got to reduce it to 3%. So and I think you're going to continue to see that as long as Mark Calabria is at the head of the FHFA. And we all know that there's a court case sitting with the Supreme Court now that we're expecting a ruling on soon, that could change that. Could give the Biden administration the ability to relieve Calabria of his duties. Calabria is pursuing an incredibly aggressive get the GSEs out of conservatorship path right now, and will continue to do that. If he is still at the head of FHFA, what you'll be able to sell the agencies will continue to be restricted in the buckets that they view as risky. Measuring the true ROI of new tech. So another new tech issue, and very few lenders of ours, well, let's put it this way, almost all of our members have implemented new technology of some sort over the course of the last 3-4 years. Very few are able to say with certainty, it's saved me this much money, or it's saving me this much money. Maybe they're at ROI now on it, or see the path there, but new tech is not cheap, and it takes a while to get it working right and integrated with other systems. And, that's been the issue there. And I think we're going to continue to see that for a little while. Number 16, diversification of customer base, somewhat, I think, tied in with the fair lending initiatives that the new presidential administration is pursuing. Lenders are, at the end of the day, fair lending and fair lending oversight is, what is going to be looked at there is they're going to take a look at your lending footprint as defined by physical locations you have and where your applications are coming in from, the HMDA data. Does it match the general demographic data of that area? I mean, it doesn't have to match exactly, but are there great outliers? If you lend predominantly in a community that's 50% African American, and 5% of your applications are from African-American borrowers. I've been through a lot of fair lending audits in my life. That's the types of things they're going to look at. They're going to look at pricing exceptions, are who's getting exceptions to rate that are below the quote unquote rate sheet for that day. Why are they getting them? What are the demographics, hum to data wise, of those borrowers? So, I think lenders are trying to, if it's hiring minority loan originators or partnerships with community groups, they're very actively looking for ways to diversify their customer base. And this, again, is an issue that typically would not come in the top 20 of this survey that we saw come in higher this time around. Enhanced execution strategy on sold loans. As a former cap markets guy, the fact that this can come in 17th, I don't know what it says, that there's a lot of other important things going on, but I put the quote in the comments here: when it all comes down to it, nothing trumps execution. Quote from Gary Vaynerchuk, and it's true, it really is. I mean, nothing means nothing if the loans that you're selling, and all lenders sell loans in the secondary market to some degree, because it translates back to pricing and how you compensate your people. And if you can't give your customers aggressive rates and pay your employees fair wages, then you're going to have no business ultimately. So execution in the secondary market, this always is way higher than this. But again, I just think there's a lot going on right now, that all the remote stuff and the new tech stuff, and not that this is not important, but I think lenders just found the aforementioned things more important. So diversification and inclusion of staff, just with all the events of the past year, not only the pandemic, but just some of the life and cultural issues that we saw in America and across the world. Diversity and inclusion in general, I think, were things that mortgage lenders embraced just on a company-wide basis over the course of the last 15, 18 months. Saw many of them, hire or promote people into, diversity and inclusion officer, or roles that, maybe had oversight for other things, but at the end of the day were kind of tasked with making sure that you had a diverse workforce, and that all employees felt included. And, again, this is, I think, another issue that will just continue to rank higher as we move forward with future editions of this survey. Buyback requests from investors. You rewind to last April and May when the pandemic first hit, and you had all this employment disruption caused by the pandemic. Lenders were rightfully terrified. Investors were overlaying things, and lenders were doing, final verifications of employment like the day of closing and 3 days before closing. It's like it was. I think it was a stark reminder to everybody in the industry that buybacks can be catastrophic, especially for an independent mortgage bank. And I think the other side of it too is just, mortgage industry being a cyclical industry. We've had a great volume cycle this last year. Volume's down now. There's no way it could have sustained last year's levels. But so whatever, if you're a Fannie or a Freddie or a Chase or a PennyMac, people that were helping support volume that was coming in the door to them, I think we've seen now that those people are taking a look at loans they bought last year. There's just a massive amount of loans that any investor bought last year, probably with not the level and intensity of due diligence just based on volume that it normally would. So I've been hearing from lenders just anecdotally, they're getting a lot more QC requests on, loans that were sold in the past or loans that are to be sold. So I think that'll be a theme we'll continue to see into the summer. Cross-training staff. This, again, an efficiency play. We heard from some members of ours that, in the past had cross-trained processors to be able to close loans and vice versa, and processors that they were able to have underwrite, maybe senior processors or junior underwriters that could step in the processing roles, all the aforementioned roles that could perform QC or cap markets related functions. I think that the members of ours that were able to best handle the crush of volume over the course of the last year were the ones that did invest in the cross training their operational staff. And it's like easier said than done. It's one of those things that everybody would love to do, but it's a tough thing to actually do. So I think the ones that actually did that saw the fruits of that labor last summer and fall and even into the winter when things stayed really busy. So that's the top 20. The rest of the top 40 issues, I'll just kind of scroll here through without providing any commentary on any of them. We had Scott Alexander. I see the comment just going back to the non-owner issue with Fannie, and Freddie is expected to follow suit. From what I hear, that he is confirming that that if you were to exceed the 3% between July and December, they go to zero. So really a no nonsense approach from the agencies right now as it relates to any flexibility. And that's just been a big change with this FHFA and some of the things we've seen. There's almost no telegraphing of things to come. I think even after the mortgage meltdown, all the massive changes that stem from Dodd-Frank, as mortgage lenders, we were given like a lot of runway to prepare for them, like year, in some cases 18, 20 months to prepare for some of these major changes that were being rolled out. And now not quite as much of that runway, really no runway, especially as it relates to Fannie and Freddie related changes. So, so that's the results of the Pulse of the Mortgage Industry Survey. I want to thank those of you that completed it. I see some of you on the line that did, and it's hugely helpful information to us. It really is a big part of our conference agenda planning process for our event coming up at Terranea, just outside LA in September. And that's why we started this survey. We want an agenda at our in-person conferences that is completely representative of what is most important to mortgage lenders. So we started doing this survey. I think we skipped one version of it during the pandemic last year, just because things were so nuts. But started doing this survey, I think, about 4.5 years ago for that reason, as really the official, like kind of formal start to the conference agenda planning process. And it's evolved a little bit. Obviously, as we continue to grow and add lenders, we could send this to 600 people as opposed to 100. The results become more meaningful. And there's other ways we can use this info too, if it's TMC Connect sessions or anything that we're doing to help our lenders navigate the waters. Obviously, this is vital and useful information for us. So with that, unless anybody had any other questions or comments, this would be the time for them. If not, we'll give you back the rest of your afternoon. And I want to thank you for joining me today to go through the results of our Pulse of the Mortgage Industry Survey. So hope to see you guys in person soon, hopefully in Terranea at our summer conference. And if not, hope to see you virtually or talk to you soon. Take care and have a great afternoon, everyone.